Hi, everyone. My name is Lou Longmire, and this is Unity Spiritual Center of Central Minnesota here in Sartell. Very, very glad that you're here. And I know this is an odd thing to be watching this on the internet, and this is kind of new for all of us. It's certainly new for me. I've never done this before. And I think for all of us, we're really doing things that are new and different and unique. And there are a lot of opportunities that are presenting themselves that maybe we need to be aware of and take advantage of. And so this is really an interesting time. And I just want to acknowledge that and know that if you're at home listening to this or watching this, there may be things going on in your life that you need some help with or some prayer with. And that's, of course, what we're here for as well. I want to share with you what comes from the Unity website. And it really explains a bit about who Unity is and what Unity Sartell is all about. So this actually comes from the webpage at Unity Sartell. We are a spiritual home for those seeking a deeper relationship with God. We're also the perfect place to make lifelong friends who support you on your spiritual journey. We honor all the different names for God and each person's unique spiritual path. And really, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, wherever you are in your spiritual path, you're welcome at Unity. You're welcome here. We really want to let you know that the doors are open. So I'm glad you're here. Yeah, what an interesting time that we're in. What a really fascinating time. I want to share with you that I see this as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to take this quiet time, this what do they call it? Quarantining, this self-imposed quiet time that we're all facing, where we need to be at home and be quiet. Some of us aren't even going to work. We're telecommuting, or for that matter, just being home. It appears to me that there's an opportunity here for us to really practice our fourth principle of unity, which is prayer and meditation. We're being quiet. We're being homebound. And I see that as an opportunity, at least for me, and I want to share maybe for you as well. I want to share with you something from the co-founder of Unity. Charles Fillmore wrote this about 100 years ago. By quieting the mental drumbeat, by passing through the discipline of intellectual silence, we can arrive at the very threshold of God's workshop, the threshold of being. As you pass into the inner chamber, you find that you are entering the Holy of Holies, where noiselessly, silently, a mighty work is always going on, but where there is neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard, God works in the stillness. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore lived from the late 1800s to the mid 1900s, and they're the co-founders of this movement. And they really saw unity as an exercise in practical Christianity. And that's what they called it, practical Christianity. So here we are right now on the threshold of this incredible experiment, this incredible experience of being sequestered and having to go within. And the thought occurred to me that I really wanted to take you someplace and show you something that's very special to me. There's a place that I have that I often use when I want to get away and I want to do my own meditation work. And it's a perfect opportunity for me to share that with you. And that's what I want to do right now. So sit back and relax, take your shoes off, and I'm going to take you on a little journey. And I'll meet you right back here when we're done. Hi, I'm glad you came up. Glad you're here. This is my little home away from home. It's my sanctuary up in the woods, and I wanted to invite you up here to sit and chat with me for a few minutes. Listen, I wanted to talk with you about what we're going through right now, this whole crazy business of the virus and the quarantining and the forced isolation, and what's happening around the country and certainly in our backyards. This is an odd time, and it's a time when that we've never experienced before, and I don't know if we ever will again. But what I see happening is really an opportunity. There's an opportunity that appears in every facet of our life if we're willing to take a look at it. That's my thought or my belief. And I think that we have one here, have one now. I was on a phone conversation the other night with a support group of mine, and there was one person who was just really having a hard time and getting depressed and and was not having a good time, and was wanting to abuse food and abuse alcohol and just really not experiencing a good time in her life because of this isolation. And there were others that were supportive, and there are a lot of people that are having the same experience, and maybe some of you also are having that same experience where this is just a tough time for you and you don't know how to handle it, or you don't know who to turn to. And the thought occurred to me, and this is what I want to share with you. There are two things that I think that I see that are happening right now. One of them is a grand opportunity for me to really put into practice the principles that I've been studying and trying to implement in my life, that are the New Thought principles. It's so easy to live our lives. It's so easy to live a grand and gay and happy life when things are going well and everything is rosy and things are going your way. But it's when times get tough, that's when I think we're tested. That's when I know that I'm tested. And I have to tell you, I'm going to share something with you. I'm sure Karen is going to watch this video, so sweetie, just know that I'm sharing this in love. The other night Karen is in the process of undergoing the LUT training. She's going to be a licensed Unity teacher pretty soon. And she's undergoing this training, and it's getting really intense. And she's at that point where she is supposed to be going down to Unity Village for a week or 2 weeks, and it's very intensive classwork. And they even do a psych evaluation, and it's stuff that she's never had to go through before, and she's been really stressed about it. And now with this whole quarantining thing, she's expected to do this online. Now she's about as technically oriented as I am, which means she's not technically oriented. So she's been having a lot of difficulty with uploading classes and downloading this and sideloading that and gigs and RAMs and blah, blah, blah. And it's been difficult. And the person that she's in contact with down at Unity Village has been less than completely helpful. So she's been very stressed. And she's not one who hides that very well. She gets bitchy and snippy and barky, and I'm just saying, sweetie, I'm just saying. But this is what's been happening at home. And I'm in the same boat. My work is getting I'm not putting in a lot of hours, and I'm thinking about money, and I'm thinking about we put some money in a stock account. Yeah, we did in December. Oh, it's just going to go through the roof, and the U.S. stock market is, it's been going up for 25 years. This is the best investment you've ever. That was in December. Well, looks a little different right now. So I'm stressed about that, and I'm stressed about my work and about what's happening in my life with this coronavirus and this quarantining and all this craziness. And my career doing things like this with you good people, and my career, my daylighting career. Now we have that in combination with what's going on with Karen and her stress and her incapability to cope with things and my incapability to cope with things. And man, we've been just at loggerheads sometimes. And it gets really stressful and really bitchy and really, it just boiled over. And so this realization, it dawned on me that now more than any other time in our relationship together, Karen and my relationship together, or in my life in the last living memory, now is the time to practice those principles. Now is the time to really understand that we are children of God, that we are divine, we're part of the divine family. We are part of that ocean of divinity. We are the wave, as Eric Butterworth says, in that ocean of divinity. And it's time for us, now is a good time for us to really practice that and to do what Emmett Fox says in his key to the kingdom. And that is to just think about God, think about your connection with God. I think I might have told you this about our trip to San Diego here a couple, 3 months ago. I kept finding pennies. And what's printed on a penny, but in God we trust. Trust in God. Trust in God. And it's funny because now, everybody finds pennies. You always find pennies. I find pennies. But now when I find a penny, it's like, boom, right in my face. Trust in God. Trust in God. Trust in God. So I really see this as a time to for me, to wake up and to come to my senses and to know that I'm not piloting this life. We had another discussion about the third step, and in the third step it says giving up our life to the care of God. It isn't that you're giving everything away to God. You're still driving the car. Think of God as being the GPS system. You're not giving up control to the GPS system. It's not steering the car and applying the brakes. You're still doing that. But you're getting your divine guidance from this incredible system. And you're willing to allow that to guide you. And that's what I see happening right now. And that's really what I see as in my life, that's what I see as really being important for me to allow to happen now. More than ever, especially right now. So now is this time when we get to sequester ourselves. I love using that word, sequester. We get to sequester ourselves away, and we get to have quiet time like this up in this beautiful cabin. We get to meditate and to pray. And as you know, praying is talking to God, and meditating is listening. And here now, during this couple 3 weeks or however long it's going to be, we have a lot of time to daily meditate, which, by the way, is unity principle number 4, which is pray and meditate, talk to God, listen to God. We have an opportunity to really listen, to sit by the fireplace, to sit out in the snow, to sit by a lakeside and meditate and listen to the birds. What are the birds singing? What are the birds telling us? What's the message that God is imparting to you? And now is a crucial time for us to do that with each other. So practice our principles more than ever now in this time, especially if you're finding your life to be stressful and there's just a lot of crap going on that has never happened before, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is happening? Now is the time really to practice those principles and to meditate and to pray and to go within. I want to share with you a story from the Bible. It comes from the book of Kings, 1 Kings. And you've heard the story before. It's the story about the wee small voice, the whispering small voice. And it's the story about Elijah. And I'll paraphrase it for you. Elijah was quite a character. And Elijah was having some trouble carrying out what he thought was God's word. And he's confused. And he wants to get away. So he goes up into the mountains and he finds this cave. And he goes into the cave. And outside the cave, there's this terrible, terrible, tumultuous, storming activity. There's a huge fire that just whistles and blows. And he says, but you don't hear God's voice in the fire. And then he talks about a rumbling earthquake. As he's in this cave, he can hear this rumbling, crashing earthquake, and rocks are rending and falling apart. But he doesn't hear God's voice in that tumultuous activity. And then the wind, oh my gosh, the wind is just howling and blowing, and trees are knocking over, and it's just this horrible windstorm that's going on outside that you can't even walk in. But he notices that he doesn't hear God's voice in the wind. And then he comes out of that cave just a little bit, and he hears this wee, small, whispering voice. And it's God's voice. So the metaphysical translation is this. That's not the metaphysical translation. In all the hubbub that you hear during the day, and all of the crazy activity of the news doing this and splashing the stuff all over you, and the craziness of people arguing and bitching at each other in the office next to you, or the things you hear when you're outside talking to people, and just this craziness, that's not where you're going to find God's voice. If you get into a fight with someone about something silly and trivial, that's not where you're going to hear God's voice. When you go in, metaphysically speaking, into the cave, into your cave, maybe into a cave like this, and you sit, and you quietly meditate, and you listen for the truth, you trust in God, that's when you're going to hear that wee small voice. That wee small voice that speaks to you. That's the voice of God. And now, in this spectacular time that we have, I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to do just that, to take advantage of this, as another word I really love to say, sequestration. I don't even know what it means, I just like to say that. Now that we're having this time of sequestration, maybe now is really a good time to sit and to meditate. And then, next week is Easter. How perfect. Now, I don't know if this time of isolation is going to be done in a week. Probably not. It might be 3 weeks. It might be a month. Who knows? Some people say it might be 6 months. But next week is Easter. And you know what we celebrate, what we recognize and celebrate at Easter time? We celebrate resurrection. We celebrate the rebirth and the new birth of life. That's what resurrection means. We're recognizing the rebirthing of life, and how perfect that it should come after we've had this time of inward meditation and quiet. We've gone into the cave as Elijah did. We let the storm go by. We let the fire and the wind and all that crazy nonsense blow by the way, in which we did not hear the voice of God, but we heard the voice of God when we were quiet and meditated, and that wee small voice came through to us, like the penny, the trust in God on the penny. But now we get to celebrate Easter, and we get to celebrate what's happening around us in this world that we live in. The flowers blooming, and the ice going off the lakes, and the babies being born, and the eggs are hatching, and all of this crazy orgasm of life that's starting to just percolate from the ground up. It's just a perfect metaphor. And maybe you, and maybe me, and maybe Karen and your husband or wife or business partner or whatever, brother, sister, father, mother, people that you work with, maybe those relationships can begin to reflect that new connection that you have with the divine. And you can resurrect that new life, that connection with the divine in a new and spectacular way. I see that happening with me. I see that happening in my life. And I wonder if that's something that might happen in your life as well. I want to share with you right now a meditation, but we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to invite a friend of ours to come into our energy space here and share a meditation, share a meditation on meditation. And that friend is Eric Butterworth. Mr. Butterworth, while he was at his church back in New York, recorded all sorts of talks and prayers, and this is going to be one from those days. And I want to share it with you because it's a beautiful meditation, and it fits really well with what we're talking about this morning. So if you'll indulge me, I don't have one of those big old-fashioned radios that I'd love to be able to turn on to have you listen, so I'll just do it on this. So go ahead and get comfortable right now, if you would. If you can, if you feel like it, get comfortable in your chair. If you want to, you might feel free to close your eyes and breathe. Always breathe. Take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath, and breathe. Inhale love, inhale peace, inhale grace, and exhale stress and negativity and green energy that's no longer needed. Inhale love, and exhale stress. Just keep breathing deeply. 3 or 4 or 5 deep connected breaths. And stay centered. And as you continue breathing, you feel yourself becoming more relaxed, more centered, more at peace. And you're willing to accept these words from Eric and have his words be your words as they wash over you.
And let's just get the feeling that what we've talked about so far is totally preparatory. We've simply mouthed words, and words really are meaningless except that they direct us to consciousness, feeling, awareness. So let it all go now. And let the creative process come into a living experience right here where you are. First words of the Bible, in the beginning God. And we're simply saying, in the beginning, allness. In the beginning, at the heart and root and foundation of you and of your life and of your experience, is the wholeness of the universal process, expressing itself as you. Just think of yourself for a moment as being the central point of a focus of light. Light is in sharp focus. And that, as the poet says, is a little light that a man may desecrate but never quite lose. You are a point of light in the infinite light of God. You're an expression of love in the limitless love of the infinite. You're an experience of wholeness and health in the activity of the allness of healing life. You are a flow of substance within the all-sufficiency of infinite supply. And it's flowing, pouring, moving into you, through you, as you. And you feel good. Don't let yourself wonder how. Don't question who made God. Don't think in terms of what was there before there was nothing. Let all of these human thoughts go. Just feel your oneness with the allness of the infinite. In the beginning, allness. We want especially for this hour this morning to be a point of beginning. Not so much a beginning in time, though it can be that too, a starting point of a new experience, a new discipline, practice, but that it begins here in terms of a principle that is realized here. In the beginning, allness. Thinking in terms of what lies before you, the relationships you still have to meet when you leave here, the home you go to, the work you'll be involved in tomorrow, the physical experience, even the diagnosis and the prognosis of doctors that have judged your physical form. In every case, in the beginning, allness, 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 allness. And remember, wherever you are, the allness of God is present. And the allness of God is present because you're present. And you are always, and in all ways, an eachness within the allness that is God. And praise God for the truth that makes us free. Amen.
May the peace and the grace and the blessings and the love that passes all understanding be with you always. Have a great week. Wow. Listen, now you can't tell anybody about that place. That's just between you and me. So that's like our little secret. That's the place that I like to go. I call that my upper room. And it's just between you and me. So don't let anybody know. But I think that that's a really good idea today for us, is to use this time to meditate. So meditate and pray. Listen, for those of you who are new to Unity, I want to invite you to go to the website. The website really has all sorts of incredible information about who we are and what's coming up. And there's a section in there about videos, and it will show the last 4 or 5 weeks of videos, services, or messages like this. And I encourage you to go check that out. And also on the lower, as you're watching the screen, on the lower right-hand side is a little button that's got a donate button on it. And if something that you've heard today really touched your soul and made sense to you and sang to you, I'd encourage you to touch that donate button. And you can either donate by PayPal or use a credit card. And Unity, Sartell is a standalone organization. We really need your support financially. And the only support we get is that support that comes from you by that little donate button. So if somehow or another you feel moved to do so, we'd encourage you to do it, and we would certainly be very appreciative. It helps continue the message that we're getting out, and the energy that is goes along with that message, and continues to provide this incredible space for those people who congregate here when that time comes again, which will be very soon, I'm sure. So I'm glad that you're here, and next week is Easter. So it's going to be a very different service. It's going to be a very different experience to have an Easter service on the internet. So, but I look forward to it, and I look forward to sharing it with you. And I'm certainly glad that you're here as always, and I appreciate your tuning in. So until next week, be safe, be healthy. We'll see you later. Bye.